What's the best focal length for YouTube videos like this? If you think there's just a single answer to that question, you might want to pay attention because there absolutely is not. The biggest thing that it affects is how far the camera is from the subject, which can greatly impact the feel of the shot. And the reason different focal lengths look so different is because we have to move the camera and the subject closer together or further apart, and that's where we get perspective distortion, which most people would call compression. I've made a whole video about this, so go check that out, but it's not exactly how you think it works. Focal length also impacts aperture because the way we measure aperture is as a fraction, with the focal length being the numerator, f over 1.8, 2.8, whatever it is. So a larger number on top or a longer focal length will mean a larger iris, and as we know, larger iris would mean shallower depth of field. The benefits of wide angle lenses like this is because you can have the camera so much closer, it feels a lot more intimate because I'm physically closer to the lens. So it's almost as if you're just sitting across the table from me and I'm talking directly to you. It also allows you to show off the background more if you have an interesting background. That could also be a bad thing though, if you do not have a space that you want to be able to see the whole thing in the shot, then maybe you don't want to shoot on a wide angle lens. And also to do with the space you're in, it makes the space a lot bigger. Like when we're shooting on this 20mm, that wall looks like it's way further behind me than it really is. Whereas on the higher focal lengths, it seems like it's a lot closer. I also made a whole video about this 20mm lens in particular recently, so go check that out if you're interested. But now for probably one of the most popular focal lengths in general, 50mm. By the way, all of these numbers are on full frame. This is on the A7 IV. So if you're on a different size sensor, then you'd obviously have to just calculate what the equivalent would be. Now I'm shooting on a 24-70, not a 50mm prime. A good 50mm prime would probably be one of the best looking images that you could get because 50 is such a standard focal length, and often you can get 50mm 1.2s, so you can really blur out the background. Biggest thing with 50mm is it's just a lot more natural because with the wide shots, yes, you're very close and very intimate, but like you're not always sitting that close to people. And because you have to back up a bit, this is more like what you would see in real life from a normal distance that you would be seeing a person from. There's a few benefits to longer focal lengths like this. This is 100mm on the 70-200 G Master Mark II. The first is it's just kind of more flattering to, you know, the human face, and just in general, things look a little bit better because that you don't have that perspective distortion from being really close. Like I mentioned before about depth of field, higher focal lengths are going to have a shallower depth of field at this same aperture. You know, 100 over 2.8 is going to be a larger circle than 20 over 2.8 maths. And they also allow for more room for foreground elements. Like if I wanted to put this 2 meters in front of me, so it's just a nice little blurry bit in the foreground, I can do that. So you can just play with the depth a little bit more because you actually have that depth, because you have more distance between the elements of the shot, being the camera, the subject, the background. So obviously there's a pretty big difference between all of these. This is now at 200mm. I can't quite move it back far enough because my XLR cable is only 6 meters long, so I can't quite put it back to have the same framing. And I feel like this one is probably a bit too much at 200mm, but I think each sort of category of focal length has its merits, and the decision on which one to use should be made on the feeling that you're going for, the type of content, whether you have other elements apart from yourself, the space you're in, or even entirely arbitrarily if you want. I like to play around with different lenses and different lighting setups all the time, so very few of my videos have the exact same setup. But that's all for this one. What's your favorite focal length for videos like this? Let me know in the comments. While you're down there, do all the other things. And go watch my video about how compression isn't what you think it is. Okay, bye.